What if I told you that the world's most powerful nation is secretly fighting a battle that could determine the fate of humanity itself? While everyone's busy arguing about trade wars and technology, China is facing something far more terrifying, a series of interconnected crises that are literally reshaping the country from the ground up. Here's the kicker: most people have absolutely no idea this is happening, and that ignorance could cost us all dearly. You've probably heard about China's economic miracle, their incredible growth, their shiny new cities and technological advances. But what the media isn't telling you is the dark side of this story, the geographic curiosities and environmental nightmares that are threatening to bring this entire empire crashing down. We're talking about problems so massive and interconnected that they make Hollywood disaster movies look like children's bedtime stories. Here's what's really going to blow your mind: these aren't separate issues happening in isolation. They're all connected in a web so complex and dangerous that solving one problem often makes 3 others worse. It's like trying to untangle a knot while blindfolded, except the rope is on fire and millions of lives hang in the balance. The strangest part? Understanding these geographic curiosities might just be the key to understanding where our entire world is heading in the next decade. Just picture this: you're walking through a completely new city, with gleaming skyscrapers, massive shopping centers, and wide avenues, but there isn't a single soul on the streets. Sounds like a horror movie, doesn't it? Well, that was the hauntingly real reality of dozens of cities in China for years. These ghost cities represented one of the most disturbing geographic curiosities of the modern world, where billions were invested in infrastructure that simply didn't work. It was like building a palace for ghosts to live in. What makes this situation even more fascinating is that these cities weren't born empty by accident, nor did they stay that way forever. They were planned to house millions of people, and something interesting started happening in recent years. Chinese urban geography transformed into a kind of large-scale social experiment, where runaway growth created real concrete monsters that, surprisingly, began to come to life. Think about Ordos, for example, a city built for 1 million inhabitants that initially had only 100,000 people, but today already houses around 150,000 residents and continues growing. But here's the plot twist that few people know: many of these ghost cities are finally awakening from their eternal slumber. It's like an urban metamorphosis in slow motion, where patience and long-term planning finally started bearing fruit. These curiosities about urban planning reveal something profound about how cities really are born and develop. However, this gradual awakening of ghost cities is just the tip of the iceberg of a much more complex problem that threatens all of China's geographic stability: accelerated desertification and the loss of fertile land. You know what's really mind-blowing? Every single year, China loses an area of fertile farmland that's roughly the size of Connecticut to advancing deserts. Yeah, you heard that right, we're talking about millions of acres just disappearing into sand dunes. It's one of those geographic curiosities that sounds like science fiction, but it's happening right now, in real time. The Gobi Desert isn't just sitting there minding its own business, it's actually expanding at a rate that'd make your head spin, creeping closer to major cities like Beijing with each passing season. What makes this whole situation even more fascinating is how it connects to everyday life in ways most people never imagine. Think about it: when fertile soil turns to desert, farmers can't grow crops, which means food becomes scarce, which means prices go up everywhere. It's like watching dominoes fall in slow motion, except these dominoes affect billions of people's dinner plates. The geography here isn't just about sand and soil, it's about survival itself. Take Inner Mongolia, for instance. Entire communities that have been farming the same land for generations are now watching their fields turn into mini-Saharas. But here's where things get really interesting, and this is one of those curiosities that'll blow your mind. The Chinese government has actually been fighting back against the desert with something called the Green Wall of China, a massive tree planting project that makes the original Great Wall look like a backyard fence. They're literally trying to hold back advancing sand with billions of trees, creating green barriers across thousands of miles. It's an epic battle between human determination and nature's relentless force, but even this incredible effort reveals just how desperate the situation has become. Here's something that'll make you think twice about complaining about your city's air quality. There are days in Beijing when the pollution is so thick that you literally can't see buildings that are just a block away. It's like living inside a snow globe, except instead of pretty white flakes, you've got toxic particles swirling around you. This isn't just one of those curious geographic phenomena you read about, it's a daily reality for hundreds of millions of people. The air pollution in China has reached levels so extreme that it's actually changing the way sunlight reaches the ground, creating an eerie, apocalyptic atmosphere that feels like something out of a dystopian movie. What's absolutely fascinating about this situation is how it affects human behavior in the most unexpected ways. People actually check air quality apps more religiously than weather forecasts, planning their entire day around pollution levels. Can you imagine scheduling your morning jog based on whether the air might literally poison you? It's become such a part of daily life that children in major Chinese cities often don't see blue skies for weeks at a time. The geography of clean air has become a luxury commodity, where wealthy families plan vacations specifically to let their kids breathe properly for a few days. But here's where this story gets really wild, and it's one of those curiosities that most people never hear about. The pollution has gotten so bad that it's actually affecting weather patterns across the entire region. We're talking about smog so dense it blocks satellite images, creates its own cloud formations, and even influences rainfall patterns thousands of miles away. It's like Mother Nature is getting confused by all the junk in the air. The scariest part? This invisible enemy is just one piece of a much larger puzzle that's threatening to reshape China's entire future. Underground water depletion and the hidden crisis. Picture this, beneath your feet right now, there's an invisible ocean that took thousands of years to fill up, and China is draining it faster than you can say, water shortage. We're talking about underground aquifers, these massive natural reservoirs that have been feeding civilizations for millennia, being sucked dry in just a few decades. It's one of those geographic curiosities that's absolutely terrifying when you really think about it. The ground in some Chinese cities is literally sinking because there's no water left underground to hold it up. Beijing, for example, has sunk by several feet in some areas, creating a geographical nightmare that's both invisible and inevitable. What makes this situation incredibly mind-boggling is how it affects daily life in ways that'd shock you. Imagine turning on your tap and nothing. That's becoming reality for millions of people across northern China, where wells that worked for generations are suddenly running dry. Farmers are drilling deeper and deeper, sometimes going down 300 feet or more, desperately searching for water that simply isn't there anymore. It's like mining for liquid gold, except this gold is essential for survival. The geography of water availability has become so critical that entire communities are being forced to relocate, creating modern-day ghost towns not because of economics, but because of thirst. Here's where this gets really fascinating and scary. The Chinese government has launched one of the most ambitious engineering projects in human history to solve this problem, moving water from the south to the north through a network of canals and tunnels that stretches over 1,000 miles. It's like performing surgery on an entire continent, redirecting nature's flow to keep civilization alive. But even this incredible feat reveals just how desperate the situation has become, and it's connected to something even more dangerous that's literally reshaping the landscape. You know what's absolutely terrifying? Imagine living in a place where entire mountainsides can just slide away without warning, taking homes, roads, and sometimes entire villages with them. That's the reality millions of people in China face every single day, especially during monsoon season. We're talking about geological curiosities that turn deadly in the blink of an eye. The country experiences thousands of landslides every year, and some of them are so massive they literally reshape the geography overnight. It's like Mother Earth is constantly rearranging her furniture, except people's lives hang in the balance with every shift. What makes this situation incredibly complex is how human activity has made everything worse. Think about it. When you build cities on steep slopes, cut down forests that hold soil together, and create massive construction projects that disturb natural drainage patterns, you're basically asking for trouble. The geography of risk has completely changed in the last few decades. Take the Three Gorges Dam area, for instance. The weight of all that water has actually triggered increased seismic activity and landslides throughout the region. It's like pressing down on a giant spring. Eventually, something's gotta give, and when it does, the results can be catastrophic. But here's one of those curiosities that'll blow your mind. Scientists can now predict some landslides using satellite technology and AI, watching for tiny movements in the earth that happen weeks or months before a major slide. It's like having a crystal ball for geological disasters, except the technology is still limited and can't save everyone. The race between human innovation and natural destruction has become a high-stakes game where entire communities are the pawns. And this constant battle with unstable ground is just preparing the stage for an even bigger challenge that's reshaping everything we thought we knew about China's future. Extreme climate changes and their social impacts. Here's something that'll make your jaw drop. China is experiencing weather so extreme that it's literally rewriting meteorology textbooks. We're talking about temperatures that swing from scorching 110 degrees Fahrenheit heat waves to bone-chilling cold snaps within the same month, flooding that can submerge entire cities overnight, and droughts so severe they crack the earth like a giant jigsaw puzzle. It's one of those geographic curiosities that sounds impossible until you see the satellite images. The country has become like a massive laboratory for climate extremes, where Mother Nature seems to be testing every possible weather scenario on 1.4 billion people at once. What's absolutely mind-blowing about this situation is how it's changing the way entire societies function. Imagine planning your life when you literally can't predict if your city will be underwater or bone dry 6 months from now. Chinese farmers are switching crops multiple times per year, cities are building flood barriers that look like medieval fortresses, and millions of people are migrating internally just to escape increasingly hostile weather patterns. The geography of habitability is shifting so fast that traditional ways of life are becoming obsolete practically overnight. Take Hunan Province's floods in 2021, they were so intense that subway stations turned into underground rivers, trapping passengers in a real-life nightmare. But here's where this story gets really wild, and it's one of those curiosities that connects everything we've been talking about. These extreme weather events aren't just random acts of nature, they're amplifying every other problem we've discussed. Floods wash away the trees planted to stop desertification, droughts make water scarcity even worse, extreme heat intensifies air pollution, and heavy rains trigger more landslides and ground instability. It's like watching a perfectly orchestrated disaster where every piece feeds into the next, creating a domino effect that threatens to reshape not just China's geography, but its entire future as a global superpower. So here's the real question: if a superpower like China can face these massive geographic challenges, what does that mean for the rest of us? These curiosities aren't just happening in some faraway place, they're connected to everything from the food prices in your local store to the air quality in your own city. Look, you've just learned something that most people have no clue about. The question is, what are you gonna do with this knowledge? Are you going to be one of those people who learns incredible stuff and then does nothing, or are you ready to stay informed about the real issues shaping our world? These geographic curiosities we've explored today don't respect borders. Climate change, pollution, resource scarcity, they affect all of us. So what's it gonna be? Ready to keep learning about what's really happening behind the headlines? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because trust me, what we've covered today is just the beginning.